ignorance of the law is no excuse. And they say truth will set you free. But in the courtroom, don't none of that mean nothing if you don't know how to play this game. I'm Zell Creyv Granville. Welcome to Stand on It podcast. I'm with my host.
Ricky Curry, also known as Black Box. I'm the author of a survival guide for those facing federal charges. Also, I'm a certified paralegal and the founder and the owner of the Accused Federal Guide to Justice, LLC.
So, first episode, how you feeling, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm just glad to get this thing on the road.
Most definitely. As these chapters or episodes unfold, you're gonna get to know more of us and our background. But just to give you how I met Black Box. I was doing 10 years in the federal system. I think I was on year 7. And we were at Bennettsville, South Carolina, a medium high institution. And at this particular time, I had already went through my, rites of passage, you know, just, faced myself and just became a man. So at this particular time, I was in there and I was teaching classes based off my background with music. I was teaching a music business class. Um, I spoke at different communities. I was the head of my faith, which is the E5. So I worked in the chapel and I held classes on African consciousness. And Black was with the roster community, but man, he always supported everything I did. And I know if it went down, I had a brother, and we weren't necessarily from the same state, although I got background in Florida and South Carolina, Black from Florida, but this particular time, again, I wasn't on homeboy time. I was just on man time. You get what I'm saying? So if you was solid, what I'm saying, I roll with you. So again, he was a renowned lawyer. His name rung throughout the federal system. Helped countless brothers get home. At the time he had a life sentence. And I remember going home, or before I went home, it was a lot of brothers, man, that I had to face, that I knew I was leaving, that still had time. And he, like I say, he had a life sentence. And to get a call saying that this brother was home, bro, it's just, he never stopped fighting. So I just want to say it's an honor, bro, to be able to sit down here with you, you know.
I appreciate it.
And
I feel the same.
and with my background in film, why not have this in a visual sense? You know what I'm saying? Why not have these type of conversations in a way where we can really paint a picture? You get what I'm saying? So yeah, it's an honor, bro. You wanted to add on that?
Yep. When I met you, I think that was my fourth joint. I had been out almost 13 years, and that was my first FCI. I started out in Beaumont, then Atlanta, then Coleman too, McCurry, Kentucky, and I finally made it to a medium. When I got there, I met a lot of good brothers. I was in the roster house, but like I said, I went to your service. I went to Yahweh. I went to Nation of Islam, More Science Temple. I was doing, I was just studying. I was studying anything I could study at the time because he said I had one life sentence. I had 2 life sentences, which don't make a difference. You can't do a life sentence no way. But I kept myself occupied by staying busy, learning. I was teaching classes there when I first got there. I started teaching the legal class. I taught that for almost 14 years. Then I also was teaching NFPT. I didn't teach NFPT there, but I taught other workout classes, aerobics, uh, spin class, and things of that nature. But
Right.
it was an all right joint. I think I stayed out about 3.5 years. I met a lot of good people, passing through Williamsburg. I left there and went to Berlin, but before I left, I had good experiences there. I just wanted to leave. I always found myself wanting to leave joints because I had been in some of them so long. Like Atlanta, I stayed there like 6 years, and I always wanted to move around.
Right.
I had a life sentence, but I didn't want to be stuck somewhere. So my thing was moving around, and I moved around, and I met you, and that was a good experience. Like I said, when I got out, you come to the halfway house, and you and a couple other dudes, check me out and welcome me back home, even though I'm not from Atlanta. I'm from Miami, but
Yeah, man. Pulling up there, being able to see you on this side of the Nile River, man, was a blessing, bro.
yeah.
So yeah, we putting in work. topic of the day is ignorance of the law is no excuse. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. And to help us unwrap this topic, I had to reach out to one of my partners, one of my mentors. You know, that's something that's forgotten these days, having mentors, people that, you know, you can call on. You know, we don't talk every day, but when we chop it up or when we come together, it's about something meaningful, man. And I had to sit down until I get this podcast thing going together. I had to really sit down and write something out real quick, right? Because
Yeah.
he's do that. So check it out. All right. We've got an incredible short story about to unfold here today. Joining us is a man whose name resonates throughout the community, a true force for change. He stayed solid and endured an extended sentence in federal prison. But instead of breaking, it forged a new vision and a powerful purpose. Owner and CEO of Next Step Staffing, one of Metro Atlanta's largest staffing companies. His mission is deeply personal, specializing in empowering ex-offenders with resources, employment, and housing. A well-deserved welcome to the visionary, Ricky Brown.
Hi.
That's right.
All right.
How you doing, my friend?
How you doing,
All right.
bro?
I'm great, man.
It's a pleasure.
Good to see you guys.
All right.
It's
All
a
right.
pleasure,
Glad to be
man.
here.
You know, hey Rick, before we get into your story, let me just walk you down memory lane and see if you even remember this. So, man, I'm a man of many hats, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I came out the halfway house,
Yeah.
you know, I made a conscious decision not to go back to Carolina, you know,
Yeah.
and it wasn't because I couldn't go back. It was because I really wanted to have an environment that aided what I was really trying to do. And I knew going back home wasn't going to do that for me, you know. So I came to Atlanta, man, with just nothing, you know, on that west side, just happy to be home, but I had a goal, you know. So anyway, I hit the ground running. You know, I was able to restart my record company. Met a lot of people, some old connections from the industry I touched base with, and just fast forwarding up into I met him. I was in the process of No, I was actually doing music. I was still doing music, and I was doing a little bit of radio. Shout out to Deb Anthony, which was managing me at the particular time.
That's correct.
And was my mentor. Me and Deb was promoting the Empire premiere. We had the exclusive Empire shows here we was doing that at Sweet Lounge.
Sweet Lounge.
Yeah. So we had live shows. They had live shows in Atlanta, New York, and I think LA. And I think we were hosting it on Periscope.
That's right.
Like a new app at the time. And I met a lot of people that night. And I never forget, you know, I was part of the organizing the event, so I'm ripping and running, and I just never forget. Deb stopped me, was like, "Hey, Creyv, come here." She said, "I need you to meet somebody," and she brought me to Rick, and I was like, "Hey," I said, "What's up, bro?" We chop it up. She was like, Creyv did time too, so something like that. She was like, Creyv did time too, and then she said something, and this kind of like walked off, and this kind of left me and bro there. So we chopped it up, and then she came back, and we vibing. And we got, that was our introduction.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That was our introduction, and from that day, man, you know, we kept a bond. And every time I had something, my lawyer was Diana Lynch. Every time she had still has a nonprofit organization, Literacy to Legacy.
That's right.
You know, every time we would have an event, I would call on him. He would come out and speak. What else, man? Anything that, if I got something going on, he's well connected. I would reach out to him for mentorship. I remember when you was running for City Council, District
3.
I helped on his campaign.
Sure
did some commercials, learned a lot about politics, Atlanta politics at the time.
I did too.
Yeah. Right. That's another show. Learned a lot, and man, I just want to say it was an honor, and I wouldn't think of nobody else to set this first show up.
Well, man, I'm honored to be here, man. I'm always elated when you gonna give me a call and say, "Hey, come by and do this and do that." Man, it's just I'm the type of person I always want to give back to who gave to me. And you're one of those young brothers that gave back to me when I came home and showed me love, man, and I really, really appreciate that. So anytime I'm called upon when it comes to you, man, I'm always going to be here.
That's right. Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. So, real quick, Rick, because you have done a lot, man, since you have been home, since your transition out of prison. But I want to let people know who. Let's take it back a little bit. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let's take it back geographically, environmentally. You know, where's Rick from? Who is Rick and where is Rick from?
Well, I'm from a small town in North Carolina. It's a small town called Whiteville, North Carolina, right outside of Lumberton and Fayetteville, in between that. Little country town. I was raised on a farm. I'm 65 coming up here in July 14th. So I go way back. So I was raised on a farm where we didn't even have tractors. We used to run behind the mule. So I was raised on a farm by a single mother. She ended up marrying a gentleman by the name of Carson Powell in Mount Olive, North Carolina, a little small country farm town outside of Whiteville.
I'm familiar.
And I moved there and just worked on that farm, man, from the age of, I think we're like 7 years old, all the way up until high school. Once I graduated high school, even during high school, I ended up going into radio. Always was intrigued and fascinated with radio. Used to get a CB, the CB radio.
Yeah.
I used to call myself the teddy bear, and I used to talk to the truck drivers going up and down 95. And so that's how I kind of learned that trait. Then I started being the afternoon radio announcer at a local radio station in Chadburn, North Carolina, station called WVOE radio station, the Music Cats, we called us back then. FM, AM radio station at that time. And one day, man, a guy, I was like 15 years old. He said I had a deep voice. Still have it, I guess. But a guy came, man, he said he was riding down 95 and he heard me on the radio. His name was Ralph Jennings. He was a preacher. And he stopped by and he said, how old are you, young man? I said, I was 15 at the time. He said, when you get out of high school, I want you to come to Atlanta and work for me at a radio station. Yeah, I had never left, the whole city of the country. So I'm still a farmer. I'm still milking cows and feeding chickens and slopping hogs.
Right.
So I had never left. But, he told me, and I talked to my mom, man, God bless her heart. And I said, this guy wants me to come to Atlanta and work in radio. And my stepdad didn't want me to go. Of course, he wanted me to stay there and work on that farm. So my mom told me to go. She had my back. She told me to go. She encouraged me to go, even though she was sick. Her leg had been amputated at the time, so she needed somebody to push her around in a wheelchair and take her to dialysis and things like that. So it was kind of tough for me. It was tough for me to leave home. But when you have a praying mother, man, she just encouraged me to go and be the best that I could be. So I ended up here in Atlanta and working at a local gospel radio station and ended up meeting a lot of different people, emceeing a lot of different shows. And that's how I kind of got my started here in radio here in Atlanta. I worked at V103 for a while, WAOK. Go back in the days of the San Susie, Joe Walker. He was a sports announcer back in those days. I was the guy that was on the radio running the board when you had the San Susie disco going and those things. I was there with Joe Walker. I was there running the board. So that's kind of how I got started here in radio in Atlanta. And I just kind of grew from there, man. And from there, things sort of turned a turn, man. It was the hype of the drug epidemic at that time, man.
So what was the year?
This was like in the late 80s, early 90s. I had met a friend by the name of Magic, Michael Barney, owner of Magic City. So we became friends. And I ended up working there as a DJ there. I was running, doing gospel music by day and strip club DJ by night. So, that was at that time, the Olympics was coming in 96. And so they was trying to get rid of all of the undesirable businesses from downtown, as they called it. And we just got caught up in that war on drugs, man, back in 1994 and ended up going to prison. And it's tough, man. It's tough when you go through that. I had never did that much time. Remember when I went to prison? Before I even went to prison, I went on the run. I went on the run for about a year before they even caught me. I was just running from place to place,
Right.
different parts of the country and other countries, just running, man, on the run.
Right.
But then one day I just ended up getting caught in New York, running from the U.S. Marshals. You know those guys. But, you know, that's kind of how my life kind of went, man. But I came home after doing that 188 months. You know how they give it to you in months now.
Yeah, but before you get into that, I got a question for you.
Mhm.
So, because you wasn't in the urban city growing up, right? You was
No,
on a
I was
farm.
in a farm. I was raised on a farm.
So this is my question: what was the mind state? You know, because like this a show, we ain't gonna glamorize
Right.
we're not gonna get into the details of what you did.
Well,
I
I
don't
can get
really
down
want to
and we
hear
can get
about
into
it.
details.
You can listen to a rap song and hear that what
Right.
people do every day, but
Right.
I'm more interested in the mind state.
Mhm.
So, based off your background, it
Mhm.
don't sound like you know like it was you was like just involved in the streets
I
or had
wasn't.
to see a lot
I wasn't.
of that type
Mhm.
thing. So what was the mind state to make you you know do whatever that led you to prison?
Money.
Money.
At that time, man, it was all about, you know, getting money. Somebody showed me, you know, how to make money, how you take a kilo of cocaine and break it down by the ounces and sell it by the opportunity. And then at that time, I was working at a strip club. So, you know, you're at the strip club, you out in the streets, you're doing this, you're doing that. So, you know, just got influenced by the streets, man. As a country boy, I had never seen cocaine before.
Right.
Until I came to Atlanta working at Magic City. When I first saw that, I understood I broke down the money part of it and ended up getting into the game, man. Just influenced by the streets, man. So it's hard to get out of trouble, but it really is so easy to get into, man. So if I had to turn the tables, of course, I've made a lot of different decisions, but you know, it's one of those things, man. You live and you learn. I made it through. I served 13 years off of those 15 years, and I came home, and you know, I think I find myself in a better place. So I don't look at it as a bad thing. I think I went from handcuffs to cufflinks.
What was it like on the inside for you?
On the inside, it was people would think that it's hard. You know, we've all been in the federal system, both been in the federal system, all three of us, and federal system was tough for me at first. It was tough for me at first when I first went into the system, I was in Talladega. And if you remember, in Talladega is when the crack law riot kicked off. It broke out.
Was that?
It was in 1995, 96. I was the instigator. I was one of the instigators for the riot. So
You set it off for that?
I set it off, man, because because I think you go through several phases.
You do.
When you go through prison, you go through anger, you go through sadness, you go through a lot of different phases. And that point when I had first went to prison, I was in Talladega. I'm thinking, I'm just going to be here for a minute. You know what I'm saying? The law's going to change and I'll be going home. But you know, I remember that time that they was trying to vote down the law and it didn't pass. And we made our plans in the TV room that night before. If it doesn't go down, you know, it's Thursday. You know, it's chicken day on Thursday. So, so we got to make sure if we kick this off now, we don't do it after dinner. And we kicked it off, man. And I ended up getting caught up in that riot in 1995 in Talladega. And from there, I went on what they call diesel therapy. You guys know about that. So
diesel therapy.
The first place I went was Leavenworth. They sent me to Leavenworth, Kansas.
I didn't mean to interrupt you real quick, but just real quick, can you tell them what diesel therapy is like?
Diesel therapy, when they run you from one joint to the next, and you never really stay there long enough for your PSI to catch up with you. By the time they get there, you're going somewhere else. They don't do that no more, but they did it back then. And then when he mentioned Talladega, I hadn't been in the system yet. I didn't get in the system in 98. So the thing about it, that was one of the FCIs that went harder than anywhere. They went harder than most of the
That's in
prisons.
Alabama, right?
Yeah, because I know dudes from there that opened up ADX on a step-down program. And ADX had just opened up because they closed down Marion, which was the main joint that was sending people to for all the murders and stabbings. So when those dudes left Talladega, they sent some of them straight to ADX as a step down because two penitentiaries had just opened, Colorado and Beaumont. And I opened up Beaumont. You know what I'm saying?
Now, I've opened up Beaumont as well. I was the 14th person there when we went to Beaumont. Because
Bloody Beaumont.
Bloody Beaumont, because they had us in Seagoville and Springfield, and we held over there. And then we ended up going to Beaumont. And I stayed at Beaumont for about 4 years.
You was there when I got there.
I had to be.
You definitely was there when I got there.
So you in Talladega, And what you going through? What you going through? Back on the what I had initially asked you. You going through your emotions, and is this Talladega? That's your first spot?
Well, when I first went to prison,
Mhm.
at that time, they want to send you where nobody knows you. So I
Yeah.
ended up in Leavenworth. Ended up in Leavenworth when I first started. When they let my level went down, a few months there, and that's when I went to Talladega. When Talladega, that's when the riot kicked off. I wasn't there for probably not even a year, probably 9 months when we kicked off that riot. So, when I went to Beaumont, man, like I said, it was like, I think they gave us all the units. We just went to a unit, whatever unit we want to, whatever
Open up
bed you
wide
wanted to go through. It was wide open. So,
Yeah.
so I went there, man, and I did leave there before. I think I stayed there like 6 years. I left there
definitely.
before the killing really started. Only U.S. prison in the system that has a tower in the middle of the compound.
Yeah, so you can run to.
Yeah,
With your hands up, and somebody get behind you with one of them knives.
yeah,
You throw your hands up and take out running to the tower.
yeah.
And see, Beaumont set up so crazy. And right, say, they let people on the compound right through the fence, and dudes wait for them to come through the fence. And then the laundry dudes know who's coming because they get a list. They have always gotten a list. And dudes wait on dudes to come and stab them right there on the field.
I
They
saw a
don't
lot
even
of
make it to the
murders.
units. Yeah, a lot of murders.
A lot of murders.
I was there.
I saw a couple in Leavenworth, but
Bloody Beaumont.
Bloody Beaumont. But I
Yeah,
saw
that was
a
Beaumont.
lot of guys get killed in Beaumont because you had a lot of guys from D.C. Was there. They had their little clique.
Right.
You had
Yeah, but we had to click then. We hadn't clicked up by then because
Yeah,
a lot of homies. We'll talk about
because it was Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina. We kind of stuck together.
We
kind
had
of
to,
stuck
yeah.
together.
South Car, that's what they
Yeah.
called it, or something like that.
That's exactly right.
I was talking to a guy that did some years in the military, right? And every time I talk to somebody who did a long time in the military, they always equate it with like prison. It's
Yeah.
like it's like they doing. He's like, man, it was just like doing time.
Well, Leavenworth that's a federal. It's for the
The military.
military.
Yeah, you're right.
A lot of. I remember when I was there in the hole, and I remember when the Oklahoma bombing went off.
Yeah.
It shook my whole cell.
Oh damn.
This is go way back when I was sitting in my cell because we was in the hole. Because when they had us transporting around diesel therapy, we never went real on the compound.
No.
But yeah, when that Oklahoma bombing went off, man, it actually shook the whole prison. So I remember that very vividly.
Right. Let me ask you this, because prison is a mental game, right?
Yeah.
It is.
A guy in the county jail, my federal bid, that was my first charge. First time being locked up. You get what I'm saying? And it's an experience, So before I even got to prison, I had heard enough to kind of get an idea of how prison, federal prison was. So one thing they always told me, man, don't worry about the streets. Don't They don't know I'm about to go in here. I want to try. I'm about to hit this law library. I'm trying to fight.
Right.
But it's really a mental game, bro.
It is, man.
Yeah,
Especially in the federal system.
It's a mental game, bro.
It is a mental game in the federal system.
And like I was talking to the guy that was in the military, and it's the same thing. You away from home. He was telling me that something about he was on the ship, and something about mail call and child hall. The language is similar. You doing your time. And I'm not trying to make it like it's equal. I'm just saying like the stuff you go to. But this is the question I kind of want to open up to you. But I want to also open up to you, Black Box. What was a point in prison where you felt like your lowest? Like not saying your lowest. What was a point in prison, a breaking point? Because I know we all go through that.
The breaking point for me, man, I guess is when that riot kicked off. I was going through an anger period at that time, and it showed me my power at that time as a man. I was able to gather hundreds of men together to riot in a federal correctional facility, and so I felt at that time. If I can't beat them, I'm just going to be a warrior, man. I'm just going to go out here and I'm just going to be a terror.
So you organized it?
I organized
I can see you doing that. Go ahead.
I did organize it, man. And I remember when I got to Coleman, Florida, the warden Carlisle Holder, I still in the hole when I got there. He came to the cell. He said, "Brown, come to the door. And I came to the door. He said, I'm Warden Holder. He said, you the motherfucker that tore up my prison. Just talking about the prison. I'm like, your prison? He said, yeah. He said, but you know what? I'm going to let you out on the compound. But you better not tear up my goddamn prison. That's kind of how he talked to me. And at that time, man, after being in the hole for 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah, well,
with
after being in the hole for 2 years, man, I just like, Warden, you ain't got to worry about it, man. I'm good. So he let me out on the compound. I was able to mentally get myself right by creating a program in the system. I didn't let the time do me.
That's right.
I just went to the recreation yard. I remember going to the recreation yard and telling the recreation staff there, I was looking at the basketball game, the football. I said, I can make that better. He said, how can you do that? They thought I was just talking. I said, all I need is a music box. Give me a box, like a radio box, and give me a microphone. And they thought they laughed me off, but they gave it to me. They gave it to me, and I took that box. And when I was talking in the box about the players, play-by-play, when the music part come on, I'd stick the microphone down to the box, and you'd hear the music from the outside.
Right.
And I remember when the warden came to the yard one day, and he heard me. And he had the sergeant, he said, have that young man to come over here. And I went over. He said, where'd you learn how to do that? He said, I remember you. You was Ricky Brown. You was the one that tore up all these prisons. I said, I don't do that no more, Warden. He said, how can you make that better? And I was kind of, you can build me a box. You can make me a studio 1, studio 2. You can give me some CDs so I could play the music. And about a couple of weeks later, they locked the compound. It was locked down for 4 o'clock count. And before they opened the doors, they said on the intercom, Ricky Brown, report to the lieutenant's office. And you know at that time, you're like, oh man, what I'm doing.
So
next thing you know, compound on lock.
What? Ricky Brown report to the lieutenant's office.
Right.
So, I'm the only one on the compound walking down to the lieutenant's office. And so right before I got to the lieutenant's office, they rolled out a big red box. And it had on the box, it was red, it had Doodoo Brown on the box.
Your nickname.
Yeah, my nickname.
Right.
Yeah.
And had me studio 1, studio 2, and the warden, he said, you go out there and you make me proud. And take that box. And so we did play-by-play for the football games, the basketball games, the soccer games, and it was very, very successful. It cut down on crime. It cut down on all of the, because guys were able to sit and chill.
Right.
Sometimes they wanted me to play the music. And of course, if you play my music, I'm still a hustler too. Hey, where the macros at?
That's right.
Where the soup at? You mean your honey buns at? So I kind of kept my commissary full by just playing music for guys, man.
And I can see them doing that too, because it's like if it helped to keep the violence down, that's like what we was doing at Williamsburg.
So I did my time that way, man. My last years there, and I remember I had an interview at a radio station, and I didn't know how to get the demo tape out, so I went to the chow hall. The warden, as you know, he's always in the chow hall, and I said, I got a job. I'm fit to go home, and I need to be able to get this tape. He said, go to the chaplain, record the tape, and tomorrow bring it to me at Chow Hall. And I did. I did that and brought it to him, man, and he was very, very supportive of me and what I'd done.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope.
So that was one of the first jobs I got when I first came on in radio. Radio had changed a lot, but,
Right.
I was able to at least get back in what I loved, man, and
And what year was that you came home?
This is in 2006.
Okay.
I came home in 2006, January 7th, 2006.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
You accomplished a lot, bro.
Yeah.
I commend you on that.
Thank you,
Accomplished a lot. So let's kind of get into where you at now, man. You doing so much. Every time I see you on social media, you either out the country, you at an event. Where you at with Next Step Staffing?
Next Step Staff is a very successful business, man. We've been very successful. We're proud to say, man, I started that business, man, as you know, because basically I needed a job. I was working at the chicken factory, and my first check was like $140, and I just couldn't believe it. And so I remember working at that chicken factory. I remember a lot of guys was coming in on buses, and they're working in the chicken factory. And I'm like, who are these guys? And so I talked to a few of them, and they said they was in a halfway house. And I'm like, okay, I just got a halfway house. And I just understood the money part of it.
Right.
I understood that they said we have to pay them a certain amount, blah, blah, blah. So, I went and I wrote me a business plan. I had a friend of mine, I didn't write, a friend of mine wrote me a business plan, and I started my staff and agency. From there, I called the warden. Well, he happened to call me one day and ask me how I was doing. And I said, doing okay. I just want to start my own business. And I told him what I wanted to do.
And this is the warden.
This the warden, the same one that had me that came out and let me out of the hole after 2 years.
Right.
And so, he sent me $10,000 and sent me furniture to help me start that business, man. And so I was able to start the business, and we started out helping a lot of ex-offenders like me, because that's what it was all about for me. I understood the plan, but we was brought out here to fail. But I want to show that there's some good in the worst of us.
That's right.
And so I was able to take that business, man, and help a lot of people. When the Mercedes-Benz Stadium was built,
That's right.
we were one of the first companies down there, but we had to fight. It was still all about fighting, man. They were coming into our community, not giving us any jobs, but they was building a $2 billion building in the faces of poor people. And so I kind of marched on them. I said, if you do that, we're going to march from my office to your stadium, and we're going to burn Falcon jerseys in front of your stadium. And once I said that, they backed off and gave us some jobs. So it's all still about fighting, man. I was still fighting, even when I came home.
I definitely can account for that. I remember when we were doing something with the literacy, the legacy, you had a lot of different opportunities for, man, I remember you was doing the scooters or something down there.
We were doing sky scooters.
Exactly. That's dope, Rick, man. And talking about the halfway house, every time one of my partners come home, or one of my partners even introduce me to people I don't know, I take their word. I go see them at the halfway house. When they get out, or if they get a pass, I go take them to Rick. If Rick didn't have a job for him, Rick gonna sit there and we're gonna have an hour conversation. And I always do that. You the only one I didn't do that. I mean, not taking nothing from them, but you hit the ground running.
Yeah.
But man, always been a voice of the community and a great resource.
Well, I have a heart for that, because I understand. I understand, because that's where I mean. I've ran through a couple of knuckleheads, being in business. Had guys that come through, with the jealousy heart, get mad because they see you doing this and they're not there yet.
You talking about guys coming home from prison?
Come home from prison.
Because he helped ex-offenders. So
That's what I was, so I had to deal with a lot of that with the business, but I was able to go through it, because a lot of guys that had been gone a long time just didn't understand.
Right.
I had one guy come to me, man, he was so upset with me that I was taking money out of his check every 2 weeks. He didn't understand the taxes issue. He said, man, I'm tired of you taking money out of my check and giving it to some bitch named Suda and some nigga named FICO.
Yeah.
No, he didn't.
It's just crazy.
I said, yeah, this is exactly what he said.
That's crazy.
He said, I said, what'd you say again? He said, man, you taking money, and it said you giving it to FICO, some girl named FICO, and some nigga named Suda. Some Suda. He was just had it all mixed up. I said, close the door. He closed the door. I said, don't tell nobody else that. Don't ever say that again. Don't ever say that. Suda and FICA is taxes. It has nothing to do with me. And so I have to go through that process sometime, because the guys come on, don't know how to fill out a money order. It's just crazy. That process. Some people don't have the drive, so you got to show them. You got to walk people through the process. And I guess I was built for that, man.
Right.
We've been able to help a lot of men and women coming home from prisons. And now we're doing a lot of medical staffing now. So we had to change the process up a little bit, because, from the business standpoint of it,
I remember when I started my trucking company in 19, I hit Rick up, got some good advice from him, and you set me on course with that, so I appreciate
tough
that
business,
as well.
Trucking business.
Man, I got out of it. Well, I still have it, but
hey,
right.
man, that's a tough business, man. Trucking business and restaurant business, two of the toughest business that I've ever been in business with. But you learn, you try a couple things, and you see how it happened. But I've been able to be successful, and you're only successful when you got the right people around you.
Yeah.
You know, you
Yep.
got to have good people around you.
Mm-hmm.
Now with AI, you can kind of be a little better. So,
Right. You know
but you're
that
only as good as the people around you, man.
you're right, man, and that's one thing that I value, just good relationships. You know what I'm saying, and that's one thing I feel why I was so successful in coming home was in my journey. God, the universe was putting certain people there to
Mm-hmm.
just aid me through. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Coming home after doing 10 years, starting new.
Yeah.
You know, it's this is a good reflection of it right here, man. What's possible?
Mm-hmm.
What's your advice to the guys coming home that really that you know, because we saw it in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I saw it when I used to they call that move.
Mm-hmm.
I see the masses going to the rec yard
Mm-hmm.
and people like me and Black was going to the
Law
law
library.
library and, you know what I'm saying, writing books and,
Mhm.
you know, really trying to really set a plan for when we came home. What do you have for those guys that's sitting in there? Because, you know, they got access to phones and stuff now, too. So what
We
do
didn't
you...
have
Yeah.
that, but
Right. I wish I had it, man.
Man.
You know how much money I would have came home to?
Yeah.
Wow,
I was
yeah.
just telling somebody that the other day. I said, man, I wish I, you know, but anyway, what advice do you have to those, to that man or female that they haven't really utilized their time, because that time go by fast
It
now.
go by fast.
And
It
before
does.
you know it, you looking crazy
For
like I
real.
ain't get my, well, they make you get your GED, right? Do
Yeah.
they make you get your GED?
No, they don't make you. They send you to class, and you got some dudes that sitting there sleeping and everything else. You know, so they ask you, you know what I'm saying, to try to get the GED now because that help you with your custody.
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
also help you with the First Step Act. You get the GED, you get a lot of points, you get a year off. Just
Yeah,
taking the GED
yeah,
class. You
you're
ain't
right. I
got to take
remember that
everything
now.
else because you're in there so long. But a lot of dudes, they don't believe they should come home with a GED. They rather get tattoos.
What's your advice to that fella?
Well, I encourage anybody that's got a chance of coming home from prison, even if you're there, you got to work through a process. You know, there's a process of life. And a lot of times in life, we don't follow the process. And anytime you don't follow the process of life, there's always you're going to get deterred. And a lot of times that's because we don't have the patience. If we continue to have patience, things will come. I knew I wasn't going home anytime soon. So I had to make sure when I did go home, I thought about business all while I was in prison, when I was laying in that cell. I said to myself, I want to own my own business. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I started making preparations. I started reading. I started, getting my mind right. So I encourage anybody, man, stay away from trouble. I got along with everybody. I remember when I first went to prison, a young lady I was dating at the time, they said, how is Ricky going to do in prison? One thing she said, he's just like a roach. He going to fit in anywhere. And so I was able to get along with everybody, man. I never had really any major issues. Maybe one, had to, touch God for a couple of times. But, other than that, man, once they know who you are and you get off a couple of times,
That's right.
it calms down. But I was able to really, man, just go through it and really focus on myself and coming home and what I was going to do when I come home. I remember my little girl, she was like 6 years old. I remember the prosecutor telling me she's going to be a grown woman the next time you see her, in which she was. She literally was she was finishing high school when I came home. So, you really got to focus on yourself and not others. You got to stay away from gangs.
Right about that.
You got to stay away from gangs. You got to stay away from that type of stuff. Like I said, I got along with everybody. No matter who you were, I could kind of relate to you. Once we talk a few times or I'm around a few times, that was just my personality.
Right.
So I really didn't have any issues. But I encourage anybody, man or woman. I've talked to a lot of guys that are still in the system. They call me all the time. Like I said, they got cell phones now.
Right.
And I'm able to just, give them the best advice I can, man, how it worked for me.
That's right.
I went through the anger part. I went through all that. We wasn't into the gang part back then. That was the thing with us. We was a little older, so
Right.
that wasn't us, man. There were some problems. We would come together and have a meeting and figure out how to deal with that.
That's right.
It's always comes in, strength comes in numbers. And once they see those numbers, then everything's kind of calmed down. But yeah, man, just just focus on yourself, your family, and coming home, and
That's
what are you
right.
gonna do, when you come home? Because always remember, there's some good in the worst of us.
Hey,
Yep.
say that then.
Yeah.
I kind of want to open it up to you too, Black man. One of those points in prison that made you want to, see things differently, or a breaking point. And again, what's your advice to some of these youth too when you conclude?
My breaking point was coming through the door. See, I came through the door with a double life sentence, so I knew I was gonna have to fight. And I to myself, I always thought I was gonna get out anyway, but I thought I was gonna be out earlier than I did.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because I knew I was gonna fight, and I knew that the case was they didn't have anything. So I figured that they don't have anything. This whole case is built around relevant conduct. There's no way they're gonna make me do no 2 life sentences. You know what I'm saying? In life, you can't do it no way from what I had been told by my attorney. But like I said, as I'm going through the system, as I'm fighting my case, I'm educating myself. I'm taking every class I can take. I'm going to every community, you know what I'm saying, religious community or spiritual faith community. I deal with all positive dudes, like I run into you. So I kept myself in a positive environment in prison.
Was
You
it
know,
always like that?
yeah, for me, everywhere I went, I made sure I got with dudes
Mhm.
that was on the same time I was on. They didn't care about the homeboy stuff.
Right.
I had to meet with the homeboys because that was the thing we had to do in these pens on the yards and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But whenever I got a chance to meet with other dudes that was doing what I was trying to do, get out of prison, I would meet in the library. I would help them with their cases and get them information to get back in court and things of that nature. So it was that was my breaking point was, I lost a lot of people now. When I came in prison, on the way in as a fugitive, just like Rick said, I lost my mom, so I couldn't go to the funeral. I come in, and I lost everybody else. Grandma, granddaddy, my sons was 5 when I came in. It was in their 30s when I got out. But my thing is, I had been preparing myself the whole time because I knew, people that I was looking out for when I was on the street, I noticed they weren't reciprocating. They weren't looking out for me. So I didn't get mad with them because I didn't look for it. I never looked for it. When I got out, I didn't look for it. You say that when you didn't take me to Rick, nobody had to take me nowhere. I'm going to try to find a loophole or some fraction of where I can fit in somewhere or do something for myself. I'm always looking to do something for myself. Most people get out after they do time, they're looking for somebody to, as a crutch to lean on or something. Not me. I always say, listen,
I can account for
I'm gonna
that.
do.
Yeah.
I'm every
I'm trying
day.
to give up,
I'm
like,
working every
yeah.
day.
what
I'm
you
going to
need?
do something for myself every day. I'm not
right.
looking for nobody to do nothing for me. So
Yeah.
my thing is, I did the same thing in prison, and the breaking point was just going in with that kind of time.
Right.
And I knew that I was gonna get out one day, and I had to prepare myself. So I was steady preparing myself the whole time, and now I'm here. You see what I got? 11 books, 2 businesses, and I'm steady going.
Man. Yeah.
I think we were the
Definitely.
chosen one, man. I mean, a lot of even when you go to the Bible days, it talks about the people that's going to come from the prisons, who's going to basically, save their soul.
You're right.
And a lot of people didn't understand the system that we were in. The federal law states if a civil war was to break out on U.S. soil, we were to be killed.
Yeah, wasn't supposed to get let out.
We were to be shot.
So that wasn't just talking.
No,
in
that
prison.
wasn't just talk.
I used to hear people. I used to be like,
that was really law. So we were lucky that we got out, especially where we at right now. We never know what's getting ready to happen.
Yeah,
But if a
you're right.
war was to break out on U.S. soil, all federal inmates ought to be executed. I mean, that's just the law. And then we go back to all of us probably was locked up from those drug war back in the '94 crime bill. I'm in the process right now working with President Trump to try and get my pardon because Biden didn't give it to us. He admits that it was wrong.
Right.
The '94 crime bill was wrong. So I'm fighting in Creyv court right now trying to get my rights restored. I have my state rights restored, but now I'm working on getting my federal rights restored. That's how I was able to run for office. And to be able to, show people don't let your past determine your future.
That was motivating within itself, man. Helping, contributing to the campaign and from a film aspect, and just seeing man come from where he came from. Trump was my first time to see somebody with a felony run for y'all. You know what I'm saying? This the person right here I saw first. So moving along, we're gonna get into this next part of the show, and I'm gonna just call it the verdict, right? We're gonna take a real situation, and we just gonna really see how it looks in a legal from a legal aspect, right? And what motivated me to even bring this particular topic up is like lately I've been seeing a lot of people in the media getting caught with switches. And basically, a switch is something that you add, a device that you add to your firearm that basically turns it into a machine gun, right? And when I listen to music, I hear a lot of people, rapping about having, switches, and I'm seeing little clips of judges sentencing people with these type of offenses. But just going into a black box, and you wrote a book on how to survive and how to fight charges. I want to know what is well. Actually, I'm a quote a case. It was a guy in Florida. I remember the clip was he was on side of the road. He had 2 pounds of weed, and he had a switch on a Glock.
Yeah.
What is this kid's reality?
Okay.
Two things, really.
Yeah, well, he has 2 things, but the state he ain't really got to worry about. What he have to worry about is that marijuana, the 2 pounds, that put him in the most trouble he ever got in his whole life. Because that 2 pounds trigger 841B1D. That is a felony drug statute for possession with intent to distribute marijuana. Had it just been simple possession under the 821, it wouldn't have triggered the 924C. But the 924C 1B, that switcher, carry a mandatory 30 years, no matter what. And now that person is being bought in for that marijuana along with the 924C B1, the switcher, that's 30 years plus up to 5 years. That's without a felony conviction. Prior conviction. Have you have a prior conviction, that 5 go to 10, and that switcher is still ran consecutive to that. But another thing, now he's charged with a 922G. The 922G is any convicted felon with a firearm
in the commission of a crime.
In the commission of a crime. That was a drug trafficking crime, that weed. So now you're looking at, used to be 10 years prior to 2022. They moved it to 15 years. So it's 0 to 15 years. So whichever amount of time is the most for the marijuana and that 922G, that's going to be ran concurrent. But everything else can be box cars stacked on top of each other. So he could be looking at almost 35 to 40 years. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
From that scenario, he's looking at 30 years.
He's looking at 30 years mandatory off the rip. That's the less he can get.
And that's going to be going to his record.
No, not the 924C, not C1. They don't call it the record, be a first-time offender. That weed brought that in. See, the record, the record is for the 922G, convicted for the firearm. This is a first-time offender. So I don't want people to get it mixed up thinking that they can just, I'm a first-time offender. You got first-time offenders, safety valves that apply to drug offenses, but the safety valve don't apply to 924C.
And just briefly, a safety valve is like if you had no record.
Well, under the new safety valve, they just amended in the last, since the First Step Act, you have up to 4 levels, but it can't be any crime of violence for a safety valve. And it will move certain drug offenses, but it do not apply to the 924C. See, 924Cs have many different divisions within that one statute. You can get caught with drugs and guns in the same proximity. That's the nexus. Whether it's in a car or a house, that automatically 5 years. For banishing is 7, for discharging is 10. But when you add that switcher element to it and then modify it, it's a mandatory 30. And see, Congress make the mandatory minimums.
No matter your record.
No matter the record. The thing about it is Congress make the mandatory minimums. And judges can't go under them. But the only way a judge can go under the mandatory minimum is a person have to get with their attorney to get with the government. The government have to file a motion for substantial assistance. And that assistance has to be substantial. You can't just throw nothing out there and they say, okay, we're going to take that. You got 90 days before they go and review this information to make sure before they stand back in front of that judge that, yes, we want to go ahead and file this for them today. Because a lot of times they will say something, people will get into these type offenses and go, and then they want to, cooperate, and it's nothing. So when they go in front of the judge, they're getting the whole 30 plus. So the thing about it, you have to be mindful that that switcher is a mandatory 30 years for a first-time offender. Now, without the weed, they can't bring in the 924C. They can bring that switch up on the 922G, but it don't carry no amount of time, like the 30 years. You know what I'm saying?
Because just having the switch is not, the switch is not illegal itself, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a modification. It's a machine gun. It's a machine gun statute.
No, I'm saying purchasing it. That's not illegal.
You can't purchase.
You can't purchase.
You can't purchase.
Like you don't supposed to better go purchase size.
Right. Just like the bump stopper, they outlawed that. They made that illegal.
That's a gun that is manufactured outside of the manufacturer.
Factors, yeah. So
they add something to it. Right. But it comes down to, man, is choices that we have to make in life. We have to use the choices that we have in life wisely.
That's right.
Because the choices we make today, man, will determine your today, tomorrow, and sometimes it's outlive you. So any young man that's out there right now that's dealing with the switches, you got to understand the consequences of your choices.
Yeah.
See, when we make choices, we got to say, okay, what is the consequence of this choice that I'm getting ready to make? If you make a good, decision, or it can be a good consequence. But if you make a bad, that's the key. Whenever you get angry, you got to think about what is the consequence if I get caught.
I think when you out there getting money, man, it really clouds
It clouds.
judgment.
It does.
So like I said, like they hearing about these switches and they got the opportunity to get one. They gonna get one, and like we said, ignorance of the law is no excuse. You're not understanding the facts. But let me ask you one more question. So with President Trump dropping the schedule of marijuana to a Schedule 1, does that play a factor?
Well,
because you're going off when it was a Schedule what?
It ain't what he can change. He'll have to file at the Congress. Congress make these laws. So a lot of these laws,
who have to file what to Congress?
The president, he will have to do.
No. What I'm saying is when President Trump dropped the schedule of marijuana down to a schedule, what was it? Schedule.
He will have to pass in a bill.
He's
still law, right?
He's made an executive order.
Yeah.
What he done, he made an executive order that to drop the schedule of the marijuana charge. Now, what he does once he makes his executive, he can as a president make an executive order to do that. Of course, he may have to go to Congress to get it already passed, and he has control of the Republican Party, so he can get that passed.
Okay.
But what it will do, it will keep a lot of people that are being caught with drugs, and he didn't really say, "Hey, you can have 20 pounds of weed." It's still illegal if it's done in an illegal manner.
That's right.
You run down the street with 20 or 30, 100 pounds of weed, you're in the same as a drug dealer. So that's going to be how that's been dealt with. So, but that's basically for people that smoke, medical reasons and things like that.
It's a big misconception with that. That's why I kind of wanted to elaborate a little bit to kind of clarify that. With it. So back to this scenario. Basically, he ain't getting off unless he tell.
That's the only way with the mandatory minimum. The mandatory minimum is not controlled by the judge or the prosecutor. It's controlled by Congress. But they can get together and make something happen up under statute that allows you to, assist the government. So
it's 5K1.
But the 5K1 work for the guidelines.
Yeah.
See, the guidelines up under Rule 5, Chapter 5.
Rule 35, that's
the
after
Rule
the
35 is for a statute. See, the guidelines can be reduced under 5K1. But you can't move a 5K1 and move a statutory mandatory minimum. You got to go to the 35B. Rule 35. So
Rule 35.
that'll move it. So the thing about it is a lot of people say, well, my cousin he a first-time offender, so they couldn't give him that. That's a lie. Safety valve applies to first-time offenders, but certain offense are subjected to them.
Yeah,
the 924C
I didn't
is
even
not.
get the safety valve. I had like a misdemeanor traffic ticket, and they gave me points.
Yeah, but they could have gave you the safety valve for a low-level drug offense.
I went to trial too, so they
I went to trial.
You got people that went to trial, and they still send them to the safety valve. But the thing about it is just that you still have to give a profit. You have to admit. So by going to trial, you have to come outside of that trial and then come back and then admit that, you know what I'm saying, even though you went to trial, and that later on they can still reduce it based on the safety valve. So that's where that come in at.
Appeals are one of the hardest things to win in federal system. A lot of times that's what happens. A lot of people say that that's what happened with Big Meats. We don't know what happened, but a lot of people would say, hey, he had a third party to go out and make some things that happen. And then he got
a lot of guys was doing that.
And then I'm not saying he was doing that. I'm not saying he was doing it, but I'm just saying that that's how a lot of people can get out of prison, a third party person, because hey, you go find somebody that's working, you let the feds know this, they make a bust, then he'll get the credit for it.
Right. And that's crazy.
Even when I went to prison, we had over 30 guys to testify on us. Half of them I didn't even know. I didn't even know. It was just, at that time, just say he did this, say he did that. If you're able to say it on the stand, one guy was in my trial. He was facing 30 years. By him testifying on me and Magic, he got 3 years. They dropped him from 30 to 3 years. what he was facing. So, it was just a cold system, man. It's a cold system. I think it may get a little change now because we got a convicted felon president. He may change a few things, but that law, man, it really locked up over 4 million men and women like me, like us.
Yep. Crack law.
It really did.
Crack
Really
law.
destroyed a whole generation of people, and
Right.
children are suffering from it. Behind that, a lot of families.
Oh yeah. It's been something that's been systematically, set up for us to kind of fail and it be self-governing. You know what I'm saying? It's like a system that they can say, hey, after so many years, we can just sit back and let it just play out. And going back into the overall topic, ignorance of the law is no excuse. It almost equates to a hard head make a soft ass.
Let me interject. Where that come from is most pro se litigants, when they're in prison, they file motions to the court. And sometimes they're late, and sometimes they don't put the issue that they want to address in the caption. They just say some things. So the court don't address them because it's not in the caption. So when you do this, the court will tell you by you submitting this application or this motion and it's untimely or it's not prepared in the manner that it should be, that's what they usually say. Ignorance of the law is no excuse because it's not. Because they don't supposed to entertain somebody coming in the courthouse not knowing what's going on because they're in prison. So they feel like if you don't know what's going on, that's your fault, not ours. You shouldn't do crime. So when they say ignorance of the law is no excuse, they keep quoting that mostly for pro se offenders. But they don't never say that to lawyers because a lawyer don't get that pass. You know what I'm saying? Because they supposed to know the law.
I mean, just me giving a little story of ignorance of the law is not no excuse. I did 10 years and I fought all the way up until like seven years. And I think on that 7-year mark, I kind of like had the realization that I had exhausted.
It was over.
Yeah. I exhausted.
Everything.
Exhausted my
Yeah, I did
appeal.
too.
So it's like I knew at that point that I may be 2013 would be my date, right? That's a law change. So, but rewind a little bit on that 7th year when I got one of those response back from the judge, it was something I knew I had him on. Like I just knew it, right? And guess what I had him on the issue, but I was time barred.
Procedural bar.
And in the judge's response, he said, "Ignorance of the law is no excuse." And I never forget. Every time I would get that response, I never forget. I went and put my towel up.
Yeah.
Sat in the room to read the mail. By this time, this was like my 4th, 5th denial.
Denial. You're gonna get more denials.
So man, but it resonated with me, Black. It resonated with me, and I was mad. But the judge dropped a jewel on me. He dropped a jewel on me. Because for one, law governs everything, man.
Yeah.
Law governs everything, man.
Yeah.
I remember when I first started my record company back, I was 19 years old, right? I remember going to Barnes & Noble, buying a book. I forgot his name. Bought the book on how to run Donald P. Passman, how to run a record label. And I never forget, I felt so proud when I came back in and showed my mama my LLC at 19 years old, starting my label. And from there, I was, so anything I tried to do, I try to educate myself. And you know what I'm saying? I try to educate myself in it. When I started the trucking company, I reached out with him. I just educated myself. Podcast. I'm calling you like, hey, bro, we can't start it this time. We got this to do, that to do. We got to cross off our T's. But that made me understand that there's so many things I didn't have checked off because I was dealing in a world where I didn't really understand the ramifications. You see what I'm saying? That's what most of us do.
Yeah, and I think we a lot of times we're dealing in a world of they can't do that.
Or the money got our head.
Yeah, they can't do that. No, but if you don't know, you don't know. But you'll find out once you get in there. It freaks me out when they don't give us years, when they give us our sentence in the federal system. They give you months.
Yeah.
You don't figure out how many years it is until you get back to your cell and add up the months. I said 188 months, what is that? And I got me to cell. That's 15 years.
I think that's to give you like a delayed reaction or something.
So, like you go back to what you said, it's really a mind game, man. It's really mental, and you really, really got to be strong. mentally. A lot of men I've known, they didn't come out right.
No.
Mentally, they came out really kind of messed up, man. Mental health is real.
2 years in the hole.
2 years in the
I
hole.
did 8, right? And I saw dudes breaking in there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
At my 7th month, I even felt it at one point. And I told myself, you know how dudes be kicking the door going crazy?
Yeah.
I used to get mad because I'm like, man, you kicking the door. You ain't going to kick the door down. I'm like, what the, you know?
Yeah.
Man, when I saw myself doing that, I'm going off on the
Yeah,
CO because they used to come through early in the morning and how they don't really want to take you to the rec yard, which is a cage.
Yeah.
So they would just walk by real fast. I'm standing at the door waiting on them, right? You just walk by me.
Yeah.
I'm like, you just gonna,
Yeah.
you gonna leave me in here all day, man? I went off, started kicking the door, and I had to stop. And I told myself, boy,
I went through that same thing.
I said, tighten up. I talked to myself just like I said, boy, tighten up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tighten up.
I went through that same thing, man. Kicking on the doors, throwing urine at the police, you know, not refusing cellies. You know, celly go to wreck.
I can't even see you doing that. I remember, just to give a quick story, and then I'm going to go to Black Box. I remember seeing you at the Reform. We was at the Reform, something with Reform. And Reform is, they deal with ex-offenders and stuff like that. I think Kardashian is part of, works with them. But it was a lot of good people in the building. You was in the building. I think Deb was there. Van Jones was speaking. I met Martin Luther King's son. And it was a great event. And
I was on the panel there.
yeah, you was on the panel. You spoke. That's right. That's right. You spoke on the panel. I brought my wife with me. Well, she wasn't my wife then, but I brought her with me. Shout out my wife. And we were in there, and that's when I said, man, the warden. I met the warden.
Yeah, he was.
You introduced me to him.
Yeah.
So I was like, when you introduced me, I'm not gonna front. When he introduced me to him, I didn't know who he was at first, and then I already knew he worked with him, and I was like, I felt kind of awkward. I'm like, they got the warden up here, the ex-warden, Coleman. What's his name?
Carlisle Holden.
Carlisle Holden, man. That's that just lets you know, man, the level of how you moving out here and what can be possibly done, man. Like, I'm gonna tell you something. When I came home, that prison stigma nothing from that prison stigma stopped me from leveling up. I promise you, I don't have that story. I'm not saying things went hard. I'm not saying that I had everything as soon as I came home. I'm just saying that a felony did not stop me. You get what I'm saying?
You follow the process. I mean, a lot of guys don't do that. A lot of guys, they come home and, like you said, they're looking for somebody to give them a handout.
That's what they're looking for.
And that just wasn't me. I believe in there's some good and worst of me, and I believe that I could do anything that I wanted to. And if I didn't, what I didn't know, I would hire people around me to make sure it gets done.
Say that.
So that didn't stop me either, man. You really got to have a different mindset,
right?
When you come home, and if you don't have that, you find yourself in a hole.
That's right. Hey, Black, not real quick. Take your time.
Yeah.
A survival guide for those facing federal charges. What motivated you to write this book?
A survival guide for those facing federal charges is a legal self-help manual that's designed specifically for the accused who find themselves facing federal prosecution by one of three agencies: ATF, DEA, or the FBI. And you notice something? When the government they come prepared. This book is supposed to prepare you because it breaks down and expose you to all the pitfalls, all the tricks, and the strategic thinking that you will have to learn and know to make the decisions at a certain point in time that you wouldn't know if you didn't have this book, because under the Sixth Amendment, you do have the right to an attorney in collaboration with the Criminal Justice Act, which also affords you an attorney. Say the government got to provide you an attorney. But the thing about it, and the reality is that when you get locked up and you get to have visits with your attorney, or you're fortunate enough to be out and you get to go see your attorney, you don't have enough time to learn all the moving parts of the federal legal system.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, this is one of the most complex legal systems in the world. the federal government and how they, prosecute us as federal prisoners. I mean, federal defendants, not prisoners. So this is the type of book that's not going to allow you, if you research and do what you need to do. Yeah, this is your pre-trial stages. Your pre-trial stages where you need to know a lot of information. And when you get your discovery, they just hand it to you when I first come in. You know what I'm saying? Now you can't even get your discovery. They got to sit there with you.
So you're saying emotional discovery? That's
Your
just like
emotional
basically
discovery is everything that the government's supposed to have on you out of one of these agencies.
as far as evidence.
Yes, evidence. They used to give it to you. Now they say you're not allowed to have it because they passed the law in most circuits that you can't have a PSI. But most people don't know that has nothing to do with the PSI. That's your discovery. You should be able to use your discovery to make an informed decision on how you want to pursue your case. So when you do get your discovery, you don't have a lawyer with you anyway. So when you leave that lawyer who don't have enough time to spend with you to learn all the ins and outs of the federal system, this book will guide you and it will make you have some level of success. You know what I'm saying? Because federal time is real time.
Yes,
And one thing I've learned about trying to have some kind of knowledge of being a survivor, you got to have the knowledge to be a survivor, some kind of knowledge of what you're doing or what you're going through so you can make it on the other side. So you have to have something in your hand or something around you during the time of your federal prosecution when you don't have a lawyer around to give you pointers. And this book specifically is designed to do just that.
Right. And there's so many motions that you can file pre-trial and things of that nature that your lawyer gonna tell you or not tell you, Real quick, paid lawyer or public defender?
It's like this here. If you have a lot of money, it's good to get you a paid lawyer. But if you got $10,000, $15,000, it's not, because they're not gonna work for that. They're not gonna hire a private investigator. They're not gonna go visit and pull everybody out who's gonna testify against you or check their background and things of that nature, because they're not getting the kind of money. So if you got a public defender and they're working on your case, this book here definitely helped, because it tells you what to do in order for you to tell them what to do, because they're supposed to let you know everything they're doing for you anyway. They're not supposed to let nothing go over your head or nothing past you without you okaying. But when you got a really good lawyer and you can afford a really good lawyer, I would tell a person at least $50,000, $60,000, they'll work for you. But if you got $5,000 or $6,000 or $10,000 and you go into court, they're gonna try to get you a plea. That's why the 98% conviction rate is based on the plea. You know what I'm saying? Ratio in the feds, because most of these public defenders and most of these lawyers who you're not paying, they're gonna try to plea you.
Right. And most public defenders, from my understanding, is like in training anyway, right?
Yep. That's like this book. It's like this book wasn't written theory. It was written live experience. And that experience is my experience and the people who I came in contact with while I was in the feds, staying in the library, and people come telling me these stories. So I built this book off the backs of others, not just mine, with my experience. Having a lawyer is good, but when you first come into the feds, you need to know the next process in your case and every step, because you don't want to go into a courtroom totally blind or emotionally overwhelmed because you don't know what's going to happen next. So when you have a book like this in your possession, it helps you fight your case in real time. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So my thing is, I wrote it because I seen people coming through the doors and they was having problems with their lawyers. They was having problems with getting things done. And everybody like myself also have regrets for not knowing something that I should have known, pertaining to my case. And it wasn't there. They do have books out now, but they're not like this one, because I knew for a fact the one that's out, what I was telling you about, I don't want to promote it, but that's like one of the only ones out there. And most of these people who coming in county jails, everywhere you go don't have a FDC or MDC or a federal holdover. So you go into county jails who got tablets, but these tablets don't have the law on them like that. They have a book or two. You need this book to be in every county jail in the country that hold federal inmates that's going to pretrial. Because I sat there for 3 years and put the book together. And then on another 2 years to put it out since I've been home. I almost been home 3 years. So I'm saying this because I know for a fact you will have some level of success. Okay. Without it, you probably won't have this, what you're looking for.
And I think I can help with that. I like to possibly talk with Sheriff Pat Labat, the Wright Street Jail. A lot of the guys are being held there from the federal system.
That's what they need.
I make sure I get with him.
Most definitely.
Excuse me. Another thing, even if they got the tablets, I got it electronically where they can upload it. Not just this book, but these also. This is immigration, English and Spanish. All right. All these books can be uploaded to a tablet.
So when you say immigration, helping people fight like
helping people fight the
deportation,
immigration.
and that's big with ICE and with ICE doing
This is
everything.
big,
So
and
that's something that will really benefit one of us, say a Mexican citizen that's here.
Mexican, Haitian, Dominican, whatever. My thing is that these can be uploaded, and they don't have that kind of information on most of these holdovers. I mean, most of these county jails. Holdovers you have, as long as they're federal holdover. County jails are not equipped with the information you can get when you go to the FDC and the MDC, because that's directly into the BLP, the federal BLP. They put the computers in there, so they have all the books for those people. But the county jails, they don't have them.
No, we can work on that. We definitely need to get those in the county jails.
And that's what networking is about right there, man. Yeah. Listen, I think we kind of winding down on our time, man. It's been a pleasure sitting down building with you brothers. I know both of y'all can kind of relate to this. You remember some of the conversations we used to have with certain brothers in prison?
Yeah.
And we used to sometimes, you ever been home and be like, man, I wish, it was powerful with building, because it's like we all going through the same thing.
Yeah. And
just to be on this side of the Nile River, I call it, the living side, man, I'm honored to sit with you brothers. Rick, can you kind of give us some closing words? Just just give us some advice, man. Anything you want to say to the people, the youth? We got a lot of people watching us.
Yeah. Well, man, I just want everybody to understand that life is a test. No matter what we go through in life, it's just a test. And the true test of a man, a woman's character is their ability to overcome adversity. So we've always got to make sure that whatever you're going through, if it's bad, it's just a test. And if you're going through those things, just make sure, you try and pass that test. And to pass a test, you just got to follow the process of life. If we continue to follow the process of life, we'll get good results. We just got to start making better decisions, even in anger, even in the time of crime. We've got to just understand the process and understand the consequences of our choices. And make sure that we try to make the best choices that we can in life. And even if you're coming home, man, you're trying to get yourself together, you're trying to start your life back over, just believe in yourself. And always remember, there's something in every man or woman that they can do better than anybody else. We all have a talent. A lot of people don't find that talent. A lot of people don't expound on that talent. But if we continue to search for that talent and what we got that we can do better than anybody else, we can make it. Find out what you love to do and what you're good at. And once you find that, start working on that. And don't give up. A lot of times we give up so easily. Don't give up. Follow that process. Hang in there. If you do something consistently enough, there's good results going to come out of it.
That's right.
If you're going out there, when we were back in the slavery days, if you was picking cotton, if you pick enough cotton, good things happen. You got more money, you got a better, it's just a process of life, man. Just try to do whatever you can. And then for all the young people who are making these decisions to bring out the switches, we've got to start looking at the process. ICE is here now. And this ICE situation is really making me look at how we were treated back in the '94 crime bill. So that's how it looks now with the immigrants, and that's
right.
We can understand it. We it happened to us, but to see it happen to others, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but it is what it is. But let's just all just remember, man, be the best version of you.
That's right.
And always try to hang around people and make your circle the people that that makes you the better you.
That's right.
Because if you hang around people that don't make you the better you, man, you're gonna be them. So just
say
choose
that then. Black, how can they find the book?
Well, you can go to accusedjustice.com. It's on the bottom of this podcast. This is my new book. It's based on my life story. I'm from Miami, Coconut Grove. the Bahamian community that started most of Miami, right there in the Grove. You can go to my website, and everything will be on there. And like I said, I got other books on there too, especially my children from age 8 to 12. I got the Hidden Land of Buganda series, very good series, and they got a lot of information in it for children dealing with real life situations that most 8 to 12-year-olds go through. So just check me out, and that's about it. We want to close out.
Stand on it.
Definitely stand on it. Listen, please like, subscribe, follow, click every link on the bottom. If you come into the Atlanta, if you're a returning citizen coming to the Atlanta metro area, definitely reach out to Next
Step
Staffing.
.com. You can look up our website. It's Next Step Staffing.
Okay.
ATL.com. That's
Okay,
Next Step
okay.
Staffing, ATL.com. You can look up our website and see what jobs we have available. And if we can help you, we'll definitely give you a hand.
Most definitely. Appreciate y'all for watching. Like, follow, subscribe. We out.
Say it, mean it, stand on it.
Stand on it.